Hi, my name is Ben Wicks and I'm the co-writer and director of The Boy in the Shed. Here's some behind the scenes footage of the film.
A few things to go through. No photography inside when we're in the set. IJ, of course, if you need to take photos of the set, obviously do that for continuity wise, and the same for everyone else. For Rowley, I think no walls should be removed, or anyone trying to remove any walls without his consent or mine. And the same for Chris Hosker. Don't plug in anything unless you ask him.
We decided with Chris, our first AD, we decided to shoot all the shed elements first. It made the most sense. It was some of our biggest dialogue scenes. It was just Eddie on his own, and we had a huge pre-light and pre-build day at the barn where we put the shed together and really kind of choreographed our moves and what our days would look like, to work with me and the DOP and the first to ensure that we utilised our time correctly. It was cold. It was really cold. I think we shot it in February, so we had lots of heaters and trying to make sure that the cast and the crew were well looked after. But yeah, it was an interesting time, and I think, as you'll see with the footage, I don't think you'd ever know that we shot it in a cold barn in Berkshire. It was essential for us to find the best shed that we could, and we looked through many different gardens of people's houses and friends and family, but eventually, working with Dom, our DOP, and our producers James and Sarah, and Ema, our production designer, we decided to make a set build.
Hello, and here we are on the first block of The Boy in the Shed. Our initial thought was that it'd be very difficult to actually film the interior of the shed on location. So what we've actually done is we've brought the whole shed into a more controlled environment. From here we'll be able to control the lighting, and we're not going to be having to fight with the sun or the daylight, and we can sort of film around the clock. The other amazing thing that we've been able to do, our incredible set designer has actually built us this shed, and they've made it so that actually each wall can be taken away and moved around almost at will.
It was essential for Dom and I to be able to shoot 360. We wanted to get up close and personal with Eddie, but also do these big expansive wides, and the only way to do that was through a set build.
So, for example, right now we're setting up for the opening shot. You can just move this, so in the next shot that wall's going out, and then this wall will go out. So it's all going to be quite exciting, really.
It enabled us to shoot with the roof off and shoot above, big wides from profiles and big wides from front on, and it allowed us to do our one shot which took us from outside the shed and into the shed through a secret stitch in the edit, revealing our secrets. The shed's a character in itself and kind of builds. Our whole world of the film is centred around Eddie and the shed. It's where he feels comfortable, it's his safe place, and almost becomes a shrine to Dad. The backstory to it when you watch the film is that the shed was built by Eddie and Dad prior to Dad dying. So it has a huge sentimental value to Eddie and his family. Working with Ema O'Sullivan, our production designer, that the shed felt homely, it felt warm, it should feel, and it did feel like a second home to Eddie, where he felt most comfortable.
One of our main inspirations was the film A Monster Calls. We were also just inspired by people who collect things. I mean, most of this is also a lot of my stuff, secondhand stuff. Tried to make everything look like it had been loved and used. And everything has a purpose, it has a place, because Eddie has picked it out and he's wanted to bring it back to his shed to keep.
So we filled the shed with many homely items. It had its own television and bean bags and soft furnishing carpets and wardrobe, and you name it, we'd put it in there. But also the lighting, it should feel warm and cosy, and Dom, our DOP, and Chris, our gaffer, they created this very warm and homely feel with fairy lights and soft kind of tungsten light coming in with lamps and so on. Give it that warm, cosy, homely feeling, which enabled Eddie to feel at home and to feel at one in that shed with Dad, who was kind of an ethereal element of the shed that existed within it.
We are going to be shooting mostly stuff in the shed and also outside and flashback stuff. So let's go. My character is Eddie. He's a very troubled, misguided kid who finds himself just growing up and trying to fight out his way. Yeah, like trying being welcomed, also by his friend Summer, so yeah. So
Hunter Del Valmarfo, who plays Eddie, is fantastic. I mean, he plays Eddie, he plays the lead, and he holds the film together with his brilliant performance and portrayal of a young boy that's going through bereavement. He was someone that we cast quite early on. We did a proof of concept about a year before we actually shot the film, and we knew then that he was going to be perfect. because of Dad's death, everything's going around in his brain, and now we're seeing the other effects of it. He's the anxiety, the bullying, feeling lonely. This is the moment you're in your safe space, yet you're saying horrible things, really, you know, for a kid to feel. And that's what we want to find that balance on. Yeah. So we were always worried that he was so good, but he was on that cusp of becoming a teenager and voice dropping, and so we were praying that moment didn't happen, and we were very lucky that it didn't. He's a real find and a gem, and will go on to be a huge star, and hopefully one day he'll remember the little short that he worked on with us all.